Is it on? Good afternoon. My name is Haile Garima. I am art owner with Shumikiana Garima, this place. We are filmmakers basically, but we also have this cultural center, Sankofa. Thanks to the community, we have survived for over 20 years now. So I welcome Ben Caldwell. We went to film school together. He was also trying to have a place like ours, but I'm not sure it's this strong by foundation. Sankova is stronger, I think. Not only that, Eva DuVernay, who most of you know, she's also creating one imitating Sankova. So we're not just our idea. In fact, she does it better because she has the capital than us, but you know, because we have all this office, nobody working in the office. So basically, you just have to know that my wife and me, when we did the film Sankofa, our idea was just coming out of the UCLA Film School, where you tell your story, period. You don't beg and plead and get the white supremacist industry disfigure you continually because you want to be part of the limelight. So we, from the outset, rejected that idea and began to work on independent film distribution. We distributed all the independent African American and African films, including Mehondo, Samben, Safi Fai, Charles Burnett, etc. And the cafe, the name of the menu is founded by filmmakers' name. And I'm sure Ben should have been there. He's going to be there. You're going to eat. Ben, not only intellectually today, benefit the nurturing aspect of his theory, but I promise you, there will be some sandwich with a little bit New Mexico flavor.
Yeah, and healthy, very healthy.
Yeah. So we'll do that. But I want to say about something that Isaac, I was going to do the whole thing myself because this, is my brother. We went to school together. He's worked on Bush Mama. I didn't even think he is in one of my, in 2 films at least, or 3 films. He doesn't like to act, but he had acted in those films. Now, Isaac, this kid here, says, I'm going to moderate Ben. So Ben, he has it for you, get ready. And then I also want to recognize Jordan, a brother who's really a very, very profound embodiment of our dream. He is now having his own radio show on DFW. He does so good. Every Wednesday, hear him. Respect. He knows how to address Black artists. When he called Mama Saravan, I was in tears. Because, people never give them their African due in the way they address them. He's really good. And so I hope you're going to have Alan in your show for sure about the workshop, but also what he's done. Alan Ferguson, I want to recognize him. He's doing a workshop on filmmaking. This is a man again who comes out of our bosom, our dream. He drives all the way from Richmond or Atlanta or wherever he is to still run the Thursday film workshop for community people comprised of Africans and African American students. He's even going to run out quickly because they're going to start shooting the final project of the workshop. And the workshop is called the Sankofa Academy that my wife and me have invented that is going to be integrated with Bradford Young. I don't know how many of you know. If you saw Selma, he's the brother who shot the film. He also is emerged out of our bosom here within Howard University community. And he's building another Sankofa idea in Baltimore. And so we're going to integrate and do workshop Alan, me, hopefully AJ soon, when he finishes working with Ben, we'll bring him here. Although it's hard to contain the guy, but we'll bring him here. So I just want to say that Ben, when when he came into my life, he was always working on the faculty of what I call imagination. Often, most of us working and responding to the daily violence of white supremacy. And so that battle is like a guerrilla warfare, toe-to-toe, hand-to-hand warfare going on with every terminology, not just the racism, blatant racism, but the obvious danger embedded in the film language itself, the racist, the white supremacist, what's beautiful, what's ugly, what is really human, what's not human. This is battled out. And Ben was the only guy I know at that time who was imagining to leave the earth. And I don't know where he was going. I will not lie to you, I never understood him. He would explain to me. To this day, he comes, I have an idea, and we're gonna have this thing called Sankova bench, and you're gonna sit on the bench as you wait for the bus, you're going to do it, and then it's a space story. So I say, okay, yeah, right. Okay, because I'm still on Earth, I have not taken off, but he does. And for me, he's a unique filmmaker because he was going, now I know that the cliche, the petty slogan is Afrofuturism. I don't believe that adequately explains to the faculty of the imagination of people like Richard Wright, Zora, Baldwin, our brother here, because it's just dwarfing you. The English language itself cannot accommodate the African experience in America. That's why jazz is called jazz, not nothing else, and by the white supremacists, name allocators, etc. And so Ben is not codified yet. I don't go for Afrofuturism. He might go. I like his KAOS theory more. The KAOS thing explains more about how the brain, the faculty of the imagination, part of the brain works. That's how jazz comes out from that imaginative, because that's the one that was suppressed by white supremacy and the plantation school of monopoly of intelligentsia. And so that struggle, silent struggle on the section of the brain creates this amazing imaginative power. It's not because, some people try to make it black people because they're, African born. No, the imaginative territory evolved out of suppression and it couldn't be contained. Most black people resorted to the upstairs struggle, I call it, silently imagining how to kill the master or whatever. All of it is in that territory, while at the same time they function. When I came to Howard, I said, okay, what do you think about an enslaved person bringing oranges to the master while the master has his feet warming on his son's belly? What is that African thinking? If you just say he was delivering oranges and gone, you are misrepresenting that man. That man is imagining killing that man, break the glass, cut his throat with whatever he got. And then it's a dream. In Bush Mama, I did that little bit where she fantasized to hear the social worker oppressor. She dreams hitting her in the head with bottle, and it cuts back. It's all in her mind. So to me, this is how I even began to understand jazz. Is this territory has developed vastly by the repressive, because every repression creates another reality, positive or negative. Like the Gaza, the Palestinian, Israel is creating more terrorists. More terrorists. They have never seen that it's going to come, what is going to come, because it don't work like that. You don't do to people this and then expect the little kids who can't find their parents in the rubble are going to come out swinging different. The very system is not telling you the imaginative aspect of the Palestinians, the way they breached that first minute by air, by sky, the Israelis could not even comprehend. They were coming at them, gliding in the air down. It's unheard of, even if it was brief, because oppressed people fantasize. And this is the problem with slavery movies in America. We always just reduce it to the stupid arrangement of a prescription given by white supremacy and limits of, and not show what black people were thinking. In Sankofa, that's what we did. Not perfectly, imperfectly, we introduced the resistance aspect of black people. And the film got that many black people to respond for them. And so for me, Ben operates in the jazz images of our existence. And my brother, I welcome you with pride, because we knew each other when I was a foreign student and living in a internationally arranged foreign student housing. You were migrating from somewhere. We all collected ourselves there. We didn't think we'll own a little bit of what we own now, to at least say, my brother, I worked my butt off for this liberated territory where your footprint is resting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hale. We are currently in the midst of legends.
Yes.
We are surrounded by legendary filmmakers, revolutionaries, activists, and leaders. And to Hale's point of working out that imaginary muscle, what we begin to see is that when we do have those creative abilities, when we begin to strip away the oppression, we begin to break down the wall of the barriers that have been built around our creativity, we begin to see a world that we need to see. We begin to create the world that we need to live in. We begin to affect the environment in a way that is positive and productive for all. And so that's what Sankofa City is. That's what Sankofa here in this city is. And I believe that our conversation today will begin to get into the depths of what that looks like for each and every one of us. So before I go in and begin the conversation officially, I just want to welcome everyone. Welcome back to Sankofa. If it is your first time, we are incredibly honored and humbled to have you here with us today. I am Alicea. Currently, I'm a senior studying business management and entrepreneurship at Howard University. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Artivism, which combines social activism with creative expression, getting at the idea that art is a tool that we need to heal our communities. And I was able to meet Ben Caldwell last week for the first time, and in a conversation that maybe took 45 minutes, I can say it changed my life. After that conversation, I called the store. I said, I have to moderate this event because I want to share just a piece of the conversation that we shared last Thursday, because what you have been able to just accomplish and what you have been able to communicate from your brain into the world, I know I'm better off because of it. And so I want to just acknowledge some of the events that we have upcoming before we get deep into the conversation in a way that we can't, return to surface level announcements. But tomorrow, Friday, April 12th at 6:30 from 8, we have an event where we will be featuring exclusive scenes from Hale's upcoming film, The Maroon Project, in support of the Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition as they fight to end the desecration of the Moses African Cemetery. And so what we see a lot within that project, and even just in our current history, is that our history is being desecrated. Our lives, our remains are being destroyed. And what that does to us as a people is it leaves us vulnerable. The whole understanding of Sankofa is that we know who we are and we know where we're going. And in order to ensure that our future generations, 7 generations down the line, is secured, we have to be able to look back 7 generations as well. That's something that I learned last week from Ben Caldwell. So also on Saturday, April 13th, we have I Am an anti-racist superhero book reading. That will be from 3 to 4 p.m. So make sure that you guys check out sankofa.com as well as interact with us on the social medias, Sankofa, so you can be up to date with all of the events that we have going on. And we do a lot of fun videos online too, so you might see me on there sometimes. But today the focus is Ben Caldwell. So we have an amazing entrepreneur, creative, filmmaker, activist, someone who has had a long history with Haile, one of my inspirations, one of my mentors. And here you are back in DC. So everyone, please give a round of applause to Ben Caldwell.
It's really a blessing to be back. I left 40 years ago and started KAOS Network. And that's the only thing I would like to say with Haile. Who came first, chicken or the egg? 40 years ago? Okay. Who grew out of who, right? So, but on a real side, it was real, it's been fun. So I should show the video first, I think.
Yeah, so we have a video that we're gonna share. Basically your most recent project, what you've been working on over in LA with USC, and how you've been using your imagination and creativity to create the world that we want / need to live in. So we're gonna show you guys a video and then return to the space.
Yeah, this video, I like to use it because it also explains the soup that I was in coming from Arizona State to UCLA. And it was, at the time we got there, it was a community that was in turmoil because Angela Davis was being hunted down. Geronimo Pratt had all of the fighting with us and the Black Panthers had just happened almost the semester, the quarter before I got there. So all of that took place and we were in that kind of a cauldron thought process. So I thought I would start it with Angela Davis explaining the thought process, and along with that to show you the reflective pictures that I shot in Vietnam that gave me the context to do what I have done. Can we fire it up? If not, I'll just talk. No sound? Should have Angela's voice. So there's no sound, but their voices are. These are the photographs that I took in Vietnam right off of my camera. I'll tell you, watching this type of footage, it really blows my mind because when you think of Gaza, we were the first Gaza. And I was an 18-year-old grabbed from my hometown, and they wanted to send me to prison or Vietnam. And I chose to go to Vietnam because if I was going to go to jail, I would prefer to go to jail with a gun in my hand than to have a gun aimed at me. So I said, give me the gat and I'll fight my way out. You know. So let's see if it's on again. Still no sound. So we can just do it with the pictures if the sound isn't there. This picture here was really pretty deep. When I came back from Japan.
Transforming the globe.
Angela Davis, prison abolitionist and University of California, when the American status quo was shaken by Black rebellion in more than 100 cities, as well as the mass movement against the Vietnam War.
These ideas were developed against the backdrop of progressive revolutions transforming the globe.
Angela Davis, prison abolitionist and University of California professor.
The struggles of the Vietnamese people, for example. The fact that increasing numbers of countries in Africa were achieving their independence. And today people tend to think about the movements of the 60s as movements that were very separate, nationalists, racially defined, because they're looking at them through the lens of what is generally considered to be identity politics today. But as a matter of fact, the Black Power movement per se was not an exclusive movement. There were people of all racial, ethnic backgrounds involved in that movement. There was a connection with global movements. And there was a connection with the Young Lords, the Brown Berets, the American Indian movement. We were part of a global revolution. There was no question about the importance of making those connections and building those bridges.
Hello, can I get a ride?
Okay,
Great, thank you.
location is confirmed. A shuttle will arrive shortly. Welcome to Los Angeles.
Pressure's on and it's hot. Tell you the story of having that where you don't know what you don't got till you need it. Scrambling for that dough, boy. Everybody's alright, we alright.
Welcome. Take the fast food history tour to learn the history of the hamburger and the soap. Welcome to Leimert Park. This is the Sankofa History Tour. To your right is the World Stage, founded by Billy Dickens and Kamal Daoud. And to your left, the Vision Theater.
Shuttle stop. I'll get out here.
Okay. Have a nice day.
Fresh fruit.
Hey, chill.
I thought it was free.
It is free, but you're taking way more than what you need. We share here, even with our ancestors.
What's that supposed to mean?
You just gotta shift your perspective. Here, look.
Is this some sort of game?
No, we're in touch with our roots.
I don't really have roots anymore. We ran out of water years ago.
You know what? You should come meet my dad. He'll make you feel right at home.
All right.
Alma, hey baby, you made it.
Hey, Dad. This is
Nina.
She's from out of town.
Hi Nina, welcome to Leimert Park.
Thank you.
You know, we're getting ready to start our drum circle. Would you like to join us?
I don't play the drums.
Don't worry about any little thing, you know. It's gonna be fine. Drumming comes from your heart, you know. By the way, babe, it's almost that time. Where's your friends?
Oh yeah, I'll call him now.
Okay, let's get started. Good. Filling in? Billy's spirit is here. You feel Billy? Billy Higgins. All right. All right.
Everybody's alright, we're all alright. I need to catch a break. No. I gotta make a way somehow. Whoa, I gotta figure it out. Alright, we need to catch a break now. Gotta make a way somehow. Oh, I gotta figure it out. Oh, help me, Lord.
Brother Kamal, could you stop the film, please? Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause for the film.
So this project grew out of a what if, looking at what if we hadn't had a 400-year interruption of our creativity by these colonists? What would we do with these tools that were left? And so I worked with the community for almost a year on dreaming out their ideas of what a community could look like, and try to do a basic education every Monday at our community meetings on deconstructing the neighborhood in a way that we looked at it correctly, to me. So for instance, that theater that we're in front of was Art Deco. So what I started telling, well, it's pretty obvious that Art Deco is Egyptian revival. And it's like, instead of leaning north, let's lean south. So go from Northern Africa and deal with our cultural iconography and infuse that into our Depot Street. Then that phone that you saw, we used it as a way to tactically hack the street out in front of my building so we could show what are the possibilities if we stop the traffic there, what it would look like if we were able to use it for our own cultural needs as opposed to state needs. We could use it for the needs of the community that are directly at hand, copying the People's Park in Berkeley. So that's the whole idea behind this thing, and we were able to get $1.5 million out of showing this, and then another $1.5 million to build out for 2028 to dream on what that shuttle could look like. And the state saw that, and we were able to build that out to $100 million with 9 sites like that. And we call it Destination Crenshaw to get us ready for 2028. So this little pulse of a film grew into $100 million. Now, do I have it in my pocket? No, it's for the community to use. So I use the school's tools, which this project cost about 85 grand. We were able to do a lot of hacking with various things with different schools. I teach at about 4 different schools, and each of them, I make sure that they invest with tools for our community. So that's the way I use my money. I don't beg for the money from Hollywood or anybody. I just see how I can use the academic ways to get our ideas done. And I can go on and finish my dreams without saying I'm getting bank for myself. It's the bank for the community.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations. Can we all give a round of applause just for the film and the work that you've done and the recognition that you have received for the film? I find it very interesting that within the film, the name of the theater is called Vision Theater. And from what I was able to pick up, this film brought together every aspect of this creativity that we're talking about. There was music, there was rhythm, there was dance, there was fashion, there was art. So what was your vision putting this film together? Did you ever predict that the outcome would be investments and being able to prototype technology so that what you saw in your creative mind would become reality for those living in that community?
I would say yes on one level, but no on the start of this, because as I started, it was just the turn of a kind of a cultural century of the way people are looking at things. So the phone booth was becoming an archaic thing. So I thought, what if we work with that? You know, because it has electricity and it has a phone. And so the first thing I pitched to our innovation lab, that I'm a senior fellow at USC in the innovation lab. So we got a team together and said, how could we update all of the infrastructure in that phone? Because my thinking pattern was, if all throughout the underdeveloped worlds, there's cell phones. I mean, they're phones like this. So what if we pull the phones off the grid and had them run on solar, and then brought in the Wi-Fi and electricity to a block or a store like mine? I wanted to think out a place like this place, or like my studio, where we could do that in a place like Ghana. So what I did is I went to Ghana, and I have a business there that's called KAOS Ghana. We took our equipment there, set up, and I had 15 different facilities. I even got offered a hotel to operate in there. But after working there for about 5 weeks, the equipment that I brought started breaking down, and it made me see that there was another problem, because I went out and investigated the environment, and I noticed that the American embassy electricity didn't stop. All the militaristic things didn't stop. Only the community things were stopping. So I said, there's something weird here, right? So I went back and asked some of the engineers at USC what's up, and they said, oh, it's just simple. It's dirty electricity. And what dirty electricity is, you think that you can instantly run high technology things off of a generator, and a generator modulates. As you know, in technology, you need a constant sync. And so it disrupts the sync and it knocks the machinery out. So it's an intentional thing that they're doing in our culture, is knocking the machinery out, and they're playing like they're not. So to me, our engineers that are African are our problem. There's me as an artist coming in here and digesting that easy. It seems like it should have been pretty obvious to people who are engineers, but they still, like you find in Ethiopia now, they're still fighting over blocking the water to make electricity when they have thermal. They're sitting on the strongest thermal energy bank in the world, but they're not utilizing it, but they're blocking water. And that's an 18th century way to get electricity, right? So it's those kinds of things that I'm noticing the most about us as artists. We have to intercede in ways because, as you were saying, this is art-based. And so I started seeing artists not as a secondary thing. If you really look at artists, it is its theme. When science, technology, engineering, and math grew up in the art world, it wasn't something separate, because a scientist has to be creative in order to think of how to do those things. An engineer has to be creative in order to think of their things. So to have STEAM as a part of the thing is just, so I always say when people walk into our place, KAOS, it is a big A. And then science, technology, engineering, that happens under that big artist tent. So that's the way I think our future should be, and that's the reason I'm operating this way, because it wasn't an accident. After I saw this, I had a practical way to see it, and then say, let's see if we land these down. And so I've taught during the pandemic to Nigeria, to South Africa, and Cuba, and all these different places to see how well we could eventually do all of our work here and then land there and really integrate. So that's why I'm excited to be at a place like here at Howard. The other days, Monday I was at Morgan State. So I'm interested in building out with our Black creatives a way that we can set up in countries that are supposedly underdeveloped to help them develop an end around this whole problem.
Absolutely. And so over the past 3 summers, I've been a teacher for summer camps, high school age students, teaching them STEAM. And the philosophy that we have is that STEAM as an acronym has 2 meanings. So it could be science, technology, engineering, agriculture, and math. And that's what the main focus is, using agricultural technology, like efficient processes to maximize how we receive our nutrition. But also, STEAM can be understood as science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And so myself as a facilitator and as a creative, I found that the best way to introduce these concepts to the children is through artistic expression. How do you view our systems as agriculture in a way that you can draw them? That's architecture too. Right. How can we create a system that we are able to feed and eliminate food deserts within the city? That's dance, that's movement. So it's all about how we can perceive these things as creatives, is that we begin to find that is our greatest strength, is that we're creative beings. It's in our nature to create, it's in our nature to imagine. And so I really am fond of the idea that you called upon your community to get this film and just these ideas under motion. So I want to ask you, from your experience having weekly community forums, speaking with creatives, learning what the issue was, what are some of the best ideas that you came across in terms of technology? We have the payphone. I know there was the shuttle that they mentioned, virtual reality, augmented reality. What are some of the things that you have heard, some ideas that people have shared with you that have really stuck to you?
So we have Saturday when I go back, we have a class called KAOS Kids, and it's from 9 to 99-year-olds. And so the whole process is to integrate multi-generational ways to work. And during the pandemic, the way that we worked it, since people were kind of thirsty to walk around and stuff, and we had an outside lab. And with the outside lab, we would grab people who had a child or the parents themselves and says, how would you like to make a robot in 15 minutes? So we were able to grab folks and elicit those types of responses, because what happens is really interesting. Once you're able to show a human that they can create, they're no longer workers, they're creators.
Say that again. You gotta say that again.
Yeah, it's so true. They're no longer workers, they're creatives, And so that's what was exciting to me, because as soon as we showed them how that you need just 3 wires, a motor, and a battery, and you can make an object that they use for sweeping the streets, trying to move around. We did it with toothbrushes and showed them how to do that real quick. And out of that, then it leads them to, I can then choose who wants to do engines, who wants to do VR, who wants to do any of the components that it takes to make these vehicles. That film that I showed, the state called me after seeing the film. They asked me, could you pitch this to the city and see if we could use that idea? And I pitched it to the city transportation department, and the director of the department said, how come it hasn't been funded? After they saw this film. So I see the film as a means to do for us as people what the Fortune 500s force graduates from college and PhDs to do for them. So we're kind of showing students who are eventually going to be out in the world another manner on how they can use their skills without putting their skills up for the man or the one man to do the things that are against our culture just because they're getting paid. So that's the thing that has really been interesting in growing this out, because even I work with all cultures. So some of the folks that helped me make this is Carl, and Carl went instantly to Ford doing this same thing. And you were asking me what were the main things that came out of it. With the first piece that you saw was where the woman comes into the neighborhood and you hear McDonald's and all the things. Yeah. We can put a web over our community, a net over it that's a digital net, and that net we can control right now. We won't be able to control it in the future, but we could force all the pedestrian, all Pepsi Cola, Budweiser, all of them to not do anything with that area once we set up this web. So if they engage there, we can control the economy, we can control our algorithms, we can control everything that happens that we're fearful of. Also, the next step was to then switch through where she was doing the history tour. And the history tour, we have it, especially in Los Angeles, because people are worried about erasure. We're worried about erasure here. So this way, while people are getting a tour, that erasure can disappear because we can still call up those spirits, we can call up those buildings, we can call up the things that are still there. So that's part of the reason that I put that portion in there, to kind of take care of the cultural erasure. And then when you see our cultural Siri, because that was the way I saw her, as a cultural Siri. So in the instant you come into the neighborhood and you pull up your cell phone, you'll pull up this wonderful face of our people telling you to welcome you to this community, and it won't be another culture telling you that. And we're doing it musically as opposed to just like, like a colonizers do. And so within the next step, we used augmented reality to guard our space. So her taking more than she needed, that's the reason she popped in like that, to say, wait, you're taking more than you need. And then here's the proof. Instead of pulling down Pokemons, we pulled down our own cultural symbols. Pokemon is Japanese. Why should we do Japanese symbols when we have all this beautiful iconography of our own cultures? So we use that as an example. And those pieces that you saw, we built them ourselves. They're like 11-foot tall, 12-foot tall mats that we made ourselves from the community. So the next step was the shoes that lit up. That was the students that were in the class. They, the millennials said they wanted shoes that light up, so cool way to do that. So we showed what that would look like when, instead of a phone call, you get your shoes to be all fired up, right, be lit. And then the next step was to work with the idea of cultural memory. So the drums elicit the cultural memory, and so we wanted to show that once she was there, with the cultural memory, we were able to break the boundaries, and she saw herself as this beautiful African woman. And that's were the main phases that we were wanting to deal. And the women who were playing the drums, it all grew out of our first 15 years of doing the art walk, because when I first started the art walk, There's a real and mythical reason that women didn't play drums. I didn't know that djembes, the djembe drummers, since you're beating that on your bladder, a lot of people bleed at first. And that was something I didn't know. And so that, with a uterus, so there's a reason that those things are there. But I also told my brothers that were from the continent, they said that women aren't supposed to play the drums. So I says, well, our sisters had to do a lot of things that they didn't do in the continent. So let us play our drums. So we now have the baddest women group of drummers called Shinawasi that start our art walk every last Sunday of each month. And so I built up the monthly events with the community, so we wouldn't just have to wait yearly to have an event. We have a monthly event. Then throughout the week, we would carry that theme of whatever that monthly event was throughout the other 4 days, four weeks. So that way we could have a consistent thing. And I did it, we had it open, rain or shine, because culture never stops. So we would have our events and show how we could do this. And like I said, all of these things grew out and the state sees it and you force the state to go your way because we have the constituency behind us. So that was the way I started working with this, is to use an artistic manner to go at our needs, and then to use the film as a means to make those things happen, and integrated that in the film. And so right now, on a real level, we have 9 sites like that People Street that we're calling Destination Crenshaw. Each of them we're going to have a different themes, because we found as tourists that you at least have to have 9, 10 sites in order to really go from one place to another, because just having one site does not work. So it forces the neighborhood to be a collective. And so we're putting it together like that, and have a real powerful group of people that are helping us do this. And it's kind of like a dream team of folks that are helping us build this out. And you'll be surprised at how much our culture really gets in behind you. Like when we first built, I think the number one thing that when I really knew that blocking the street really worked and the ownership of the neighborhood, they shot Boys in the Hood, straight out of Compton. I didn't like these films, but I forget the names. But they were renting my place with some of these gangster concepts that they were trying to push on our neighborhood. So, but they were going to pay us really good for using the front. And I told them, as long as you're not showing anybody getting killed in front of my place and the place flipping over or killing somebody, I'll let you guys use it. So when Hollywood landed there, they told me they weren't going to mess with the Adinkras. They were going to have a car there that they would like make them look idyllic, but not drive it around there and mess up the work that we had done on the street. And I went inside and I came, some of the neighborhood folks came in and they says, Ben, they're out there putting sand over all the Adinkras. And I was like, well, did you say okay to that? He says, no, man. And so the whole neighborhood got at the cops and told them, don't take that dirt off of our stuff. And they forced them. And it made me smile all over, because I was like, look at them, they were ownership. So that's the thing that made me feel the best, is to see how much they own it. And it's been now about 7 years in the place. And what a People Street is a place that we as a collective community can do what we want to there, as long as it doesn't butt heads with other people's and things that they're doing. So it offers us, just like if you imagine blocking the front of this, we were able to do something like that. It wasn't a major street, it was an off street.
So I've been keeping track during this conversation. You said KAOS Network, KAOS Ghana, and then you have KAOS, what was it? KAOS Kids. Are there more KAOS entities? And also, what is this KAOS? What does KAOS mean to you? You have KAOS Theory. the name of your book. Explain to us this concept.
KAOS is an interesting thing because it's like it's kind of like the butterfly theory. You know, if the wind shakes butterfly, then it causes a hurricane behavior. So the interconnectedness of our culture held together through the concept of what KAOS means is where brilliant dreams are born in a Sanskrit way. It doesn't mean confusion.
And where did that concept, how was it born in your mind?
Yeah. How I first got it is at AFI, American Film Institute, after the Russian Empire failed, we had a economic conference held at their facility, and my wife and I went there, and we were amazed that there was a KAOS economics. I was like, whoa. And so we did a deeper dive into it, and then that name that I said, where brilliant dreams are born, my wife found the symbol of KAOS written in Sanskrit, and that's what it says underneath it. It's where brilliant dreams were born. So it was really my wife and I listening to an economic thing, and then after that I got to do a deeper dive because I got to work with one of the professors of physics at Santa Cruz who really kind of dealt with the KAOS theory. And I found it was a good way to operate. I always say that really it was the way that we've won in this musical world is we use KAOS as a matter to do our works. And it's that way of tying into what Haile was talking about, that upper level, because every artist is on that level. That is a creative juice level that we can tie into, and it makes it possible for you to do quantum leaps in there.
And thus, your book was born as a result of this KAOS theory. I find it interesting knowing your background and seeing what you're accomplishing now. Does your book follow your life as a linear path? Because you said KAOS is a theory of brilliant ideas being born in the midst of chaos. And knowing your background, getting your start, being forced to enlist in the Vietnam War as a young man with a gun and a camera, you began to make photography, finding beautiful moments in horrific events. And at the end of your book, there's a Sankofa chapter. And that, to me, seems like the chapter you're on now is where you're focused, where you've been able to create, you've been able to live, you've been able to experience. Now you're looking back to move forward. And there's been everything leading up to this point. So,
yeah, very much so. I think seeing death and destruction and going to that death and destruction space as an artist. I'm working on a film now that is still, like all of us brag about the idea of the art of war. I try to think of an artist in war. What would that look like? And so my daughter and I went back 2019, my youngest daughter, and we engaged the Vietnamese in a different way that made me see that that artist in war concept that I had as a youth really held through, because I was able to not kill people. And I think the one example that I was telling folks is I don't like to go back about killing, but as a warrior you're given the license to kill. So I was in the Tet Offensive. I was in the middle of it, and in the middle of the Tet Offensive, one of our tanks hit an IUD and heard it over the intercom, and it kind of like freaks you out because I knew the guys who had gotten hurt, and so your energy goes up pretty high because you think it might be you next, right? And so we captured a Vietnamese man, and he jumped out of the back of our track, and they told me to kill him. And instead of broadsiding him, I shot at the legs, at the dirt, thinking that that would stop him. He kept running, and I didn't broadside him. He went and got his wife and children because I didn't kill him. And then he came in behind my track, and then the whole village got in behind our track. So we were able to save 150 people by me not killing one person. So it's that kind of quick thought action that's really interesting. I'll give you another example that's more present on how Black people are when it comes to war. Is the sister who was killed in Atlanta a few years ago when the police broke in on her and the brother had a gun. You know that the brother shot the cop in the leg. He shot his girlfriend in the head, the cop did. So it shows you the different kinds of thought processes that happen under duress. Where do you choose to operate? So it shows the killer instinct with that cop. He didn't even aim it at the guy who shot him. So those were the things that I started noticing. Also, when gangbanging supposedly happened in our neighborhood, we were able to break down because I worked with fellow doctors from Drew Hospital, and we were able to really talk about what the layout looked there. And a lot of us go for the okie doke, but because I was a part of the military, I could distinguish between a person who's a kid shooting as opposed to a trained killer who shoots thousands of bullets. None of the kids that are the gangbangers couldn't get what you would call sharpshooting, because in order to be a sharpshooter, you have to practice just like you do with a piano. You have to do it over and over and over. You have to understand trajectory. You have to understand arc. That's part of the reason I chose the name arc. I also chose the name arc because I was raised in a movie theater, and at that time they used an arc lamp in order to make electricity. And so I thought, and then also the arc of covenants carrying our culture. So we use that name, Dola, triple entendre.
That's good. So, that being said, there's only one more part of the title of your book that we have yet to talk about, and that's Afrokosmic. And so, I want you to share your definition, because when you explained it to me, it literally formed new pathways in my brain that have changed the way that I see the world and myself within the world. So we talked about KAOS Theory, we talked about the arc. What is Afrokosmic?
I think Afrokosmic is seeing us as seeing what we're in as one organic being. The cosmos is a being that has all these things in it. And that's the reason if you make a touch on the further ends of it, it's your toe. It doesn't mean that that entity doesn't feel it all the way to its head. So this whole cosmic world is a part of our we're a part of the carbon cycle, and we're a part of Mother Nature, and we're living within a live being that's called this cosmology.
And there's more to be said about the book as well. Can you share some just facts and details about the book that we wouldn't know just by looking at it, but that you would know as the author, and kind of the feedback and the recognition that you've received for your work?
Yeah, I'm proud of this book because it won a blue ribbon as the best design book of last year, and a silver for the illustrations and designs inside. And it won also an award in California for the best independent publishing company book that they all chose to be the book that they dealt with. when I pitched the idea for this book, I told them I was a geek about reading, but I'm also a geek about technology, so I wanted to marry the two. So this book is, I think, almost the first book ever to have QR codes with my movies in it. And so when I'm talking about the movies, you can just pull up your cell phone and see the movie. Also, when we're talking about Texas and New Mexico, we also put coordinates at the top of each chapter. So you pull up the coordinates and you look at satellite view and you can view the areas that we're talking about. So that's the uniqueness of this, is thinking ahead, because like I said, while reading books, I was like, wouldn't it be dope if you could just see the movie while you're talking about it in paper? And wouldn't it be dope if you could pull up Texas on seeing what it looks like and how it grew out in various generations and times? Because with satellite view, you can go back in time and you can go forward and you can see various ways to deconstruct and dream out your ideas of what you're reading. It can happen in your head, but also physically within that. Part of what I've tried to do with all my work when I first started in technology in 1984, especially when I went back to Los Angeles after leaving here, I worked in the 1984 Olympics, and we put together a Zooming template, and I've been Zooming since '84. Interconnecting 5 disparate communities. And so within that, I really thought that we could form things a lot easier that way.
And that's the mark of a creative, meeting more than what the eye sees. So not only when you get the book do you have access to your work as an artist, as a creative, but you also have movies available and a wayfinder as well. And I know there's more than just your photography. I know there's more than just your films. You're a painter as well. Are there any more, creative ways that you express yourself that you would like to share? Things that we wouldn't know about you, or questions that you would want us to ask that we don't know to ask?
The only other thing is after going to Portugal 2 years ago, I did a play that was dealt with love letters to people who were exiled or in prison. And so I'm presently working on a play that's called Love in Exile. And it's dealing with how love letters pass through bars and borders and time. And so I have, with this piece, it starts out with Alala Shakur speaking to Tupac after he had died, to his son, and Alala Shakur to Biggie Small's family. We also have a Nelson Mandela letter to his 2 daughters while both him and Winnie were in prison. A didactic Guantanamo young man that was pulled into that prison and his stories. A Japanese young lady who in 2022 fought for Palestine. She's presently in prison. We ended it with a piece with a Native American, I'm blocking on his name for some reason. Linda Peltier. Last year, he wrote a letter saying that I'm still here after 55 years in prison. Let's see, who else? We have 9 different stories. Oh, the other one is from Ireland. So what I try to do is to show how, again, being homage to like how we started the LA Rebellion and how I started this piece, it's an international push being put on everybody. It's not just black, it's Japanese, it's Asians, it's a lot of different cultures that are being oppressed by this prison industrial complex, and the education industrial complex are working in cahoots with each other. And so we want to put light on that in a way that was really pretty interesting. I mounted it, about a month ago. We do it with a rhythm pattern that we call Niobe blues, as with harmonica, bass, and we can conjure up all kinds of spirits with it. It's been fun. So that's what I'm working on now. I believe in working virtually, but I also believe in really physical stuff. So our KAOS Kids, the uniqueness in it is we've been able to build this idea of digital twins. So what that means is almost like what Nipsey Hussle did with his set. You could go into his studio, come into his place like this, and he would have one object, and then you could pull it up on your cell phone, and then you could have it sent, mailed to your home, as opposed to walking out with it. So I have that kind of a setup for my studio where you can walk into it virtually, but you can also see it physically in the same manner. So the two worlds coexist with each other, and that way we can build up a relationship that I want to eventually do here. I want to tie into that way, and I would love to tie into a way that we could provide our shuttle system for this neighborhood, where it could be a free art box to move throughout the community, and then to work with the community in a way that we could help them fight off the fear of the folks coming to take it again from us. So that's how I got before the pandemic, we worked with Chicago I put up a Sankofa City summer program for them. I would love to do that in every place that I could go, is to do an intense program on what ifs for the neighborhoods, and then to see if there is a way that we can interconnect all these different places. And I'm doing it in an open source way, not a capitalistic way. I want it to be open source so everybody can create within that environment.
And to that point, I'm gonna ask one last question. We're gonna open it up to the audience as well. I'm sure you guys want to converse with Ben Caldwell. It's been an amazing conversation so far. Speaking on the film Sankofa City and how it is basically a pitch to investors and a glimpse into the future, how can we over in DC begin to prepare ourselves to support Sankofa City so that we can attract that opportunity? I've noticed in the film that through the arc of the character, everything that we offer within this store was touched upon. Spirituality, health and food. What may seem like fiction can become reality. You have culture, politics, history, a future for the children. And so we are already preparing ourselves to be able to live in that future. But through your experience, what do we need to do to be ready when that future comes?
I would say first, really understand, do an asset map of this neighborhood. Find out what you really have as opposed to talking from this. Who owns the property for real? Who are the players in that? How many people live along Georgia Avenue? You could make a specific place that you're wanting to choose from, wherever you think this footprint could be between University and Sankofa here. And then make community meetings where you ask them what they want. One of the things that I tried to do with our workshops is to not have people to profundicate about their hurts. Because what happens, it ends up being a shouting match, a screaming match, and psychosocial trauma starts coming into it because everybody's been so hurt by this monster that it makes it hard for getting a whole group of people together because all they'll do is just really talk about the hurt. So what I ended up doing is anytime people started talking about the hurt and the problems, say that's another project. We'll make that, work with a psychiatrist, work with someone who can really help out on those things. But right now we're talking about what we really need now. And so I had to do that at all the meetings, and how I started with our community, because they acted like Hylic. They didn't understand some of the things that I was saying, but I would like say, okay, let's work through this. So first, I want you to get into an artist's mind. So I started helping them walk through the steps of how an artist thinks, because we don't just think lightly, you know? And so once they started seeing that I was talking about spiritual geometry, you know, as a way to explain the lay of the land and talk about waves and all of these things that are for real things that the people who are architects build into our community, and they do it for themselves, we started deconstructing all that. And you're in a powerful place where this place is built in a circle. And it was planted by Benjamin Banneker. So bring out the basis of that, and then how Benjamin Banneker emulated the native culture that was here. Bring it up out of the native culture so we'll have a strong sense of culture here. I love this place, DC. I think there's a way that you could really own this place, because a lot of the places are still possible to get to, even though you don't think so. And it's by collectively working together, using more of a open source method to get at this as opposed to capitalism, because capitalism is showing that it doesn't work, it's dying. So why join into a dying ship that's capitalistic and colonizing? Because the colonized mind thinks of always capitalizing on things, that everything is money. But you see how frivolous money is, because some of our strongest people that we really love have died, like our Michaels, like our Prince, all of these folks. Then where are their millions going now? You know, where's the billions going? They're built out $1 billion business that's going to go to till they fly in space, right? They'll be listening to Prince's and Michael's stuff that they're starting to control. So if we kind of own it and use the structure, and I use open source. I think open source really works, because if you really look at the richest companies in the world are open source businesses. You get them free. Google is free. Facebook is free. YouTube is free. All of these platforms are free, and yet we are calling them, we're always saying money, money, money. Money is an important thing, but you see how they've been able to flip money is they do an algorithm studies, and they get the money by the people who walk through the space, and the butts and eyes is what they control. So that's the way that I'm going at our shuttle system and gearing in for the World Cup, because that World Cup is going to be in 2026 along in Los Angeles. And we will be able to get all different ways to study our people internationally walking out of the metro. And the other blessing that Los Angeles has now is the main artery between the airport and all the rest of the community has to pass through our community now. It's called the K line. So the K line goes from the airport to Beverly Hills, but it passes right through yours, and then and it ends on Obama. We have an Obama Boulevard here now. And so with the Obama Boulevard, you can go go west to Santa Monica. You can go east to downtown, to the rest of Beverly Hills, Burbank, all of these places. All of these bankers are going to be passing through. So what we ended up doing about 6-7 years ago, we set up a system, and that's the reason we got the $100 million, is to build out these 9 places. So we'll have destinations for people to draw them off. Because the thing that I've noticed in traveling, the rest of the world loves Black America, but Americans don't. You know, so with us having a metro stop, they now have to back 100 steps to walk to my space, to go to the theater that we have. They can see Charles Burnett's work. They can see Billy Higgins' work. They can see Barbara Morrison's work. So they'll be able to see the real blues as opposed to the House of Blues. And they will choose the real blues over the House of Blues because they're Europeans and they're the rest of the world. So that's the thing that I started seeing, is we can start grabbing the people off the metro and coming into seeing the real deal. So that's the way we're planning this out. And we love to do that stuff here too, to teach and work and to pass this on, because I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this so I can have a cultural environment to make money. If you don't take care of this, I see it as almost growing things. If you take care of the cultural ecology around it, then you can have a whole lot of things, right? You know, so that's the reason I started the Art Walk. It builds the cultural ecology around it. Then a lot of things is nurturance there. So if you plant a seed in it, it will really grow. If it's put in a barren land without the nutrition, it will die. So we have to build each of these places cultural environment around it so we can have nutrition enough for our children and everybody to plant these seeds, and they'll be able to grow. So that's the way I see ourselves right now. We're at the point of really nurturing the land that's around our ideas, so these ideas will grow for the 7 generations forward with the perspective of looking where we came from for 7 generations back. And it makes us see how small we are in comparison to what history is.
That's a great idea. So I challenge everyone in this room, don't let this idea go back to LA. We have all experienced what opportunity is here for us and what we can do within our own community. So as we continue to come back to Sankofa, as we continue to live in DC and build our own community, think about what it is that I can do. No, what it is that we can do to build the world that we want and need to see. So we're gonna open the floor for questions now. If you're watching online, also feel free to engage into the chat. We will do our very best to get your questions answered. I will walk around with the microphone. Is there anyone, show of hands, that has a question or any comment from what we've talked about today?
You know, I was noticing that there's like people growing in the margins. That's something that I would suggest to kind of start doing, because there's a lot of empty spaces between the walkways here. And in Los Angeles, I worked with a guy, Ron Finley, and they put him in jail for growing on the margins. And he grew plants and he won the case, and he's now teaching that. They call him the gangster garden, because he just said, I'm gonna grow where I want to, you know, can't stop me from feeding my families and stuff like that. So within that, that's one thing, but I also think a class about the plants, the spiritual plants that are around us that you just pass and don't know that you have plants that can give us sustenance. And that's something that we started doing with our class, is to identify these plants. You know, what's this tree? What is it used for? Where is this weed? Is it a weed? You know, so all of those things, because that was a project I did with Dr. Sadie. And I should say that's the thing that I'm a weird filmmaker, because I consider myself a healing filmmaker. I don't want to be a money-making filmmaker. I want to heal people. So I started with Dr. Sadie with my place when I first started, and he and I kind of walked through Howard. I have a video that I did of him walking through the Howard campus and then saying, oh, that's a mushroom that's such and such. That's the dandelion growing next to burdock. All these things. So just walking, we have living, live food all around Howard right there that people don't recognize. And I think it would be fun to teach the kids that, you know, make it a kid class up, and then the OGs could also teach them. And to me, when I say OG, I mean original Garvey, like Dead Press.
I didn't see that coming. Is there any questions that anyone would like to ask?
No questions.
Thank you for being here, Robert. You talked a lot about Africans. You referred to Black people as Africans consistently. How did you first come to develop an understanding of yourself as an African and your own Africanness?
think it's pretty, once I started really understanding who I was, I better understood what was up. I think the first time I noticed it the most was with Larry Clark. Larry did a movie that he never finished, but he shot in, I think it was Ethiopia, Eritrea. And he had this whole village of brothers that looked just like me. All gray, dark skin, and they were dressed in their robes. And I was like, wow, man, that's the whole tribe of me's. You know, but before then, I think I've always kind of felt that way. I'll tell you the truth. The weirdest thing that I used to have as dreams as a kid, I would wake up in a sweat because I thought that I was going to use my skills to kind of overthrow what was going on in Africa. And as a matter of fact, I even got a little afraid when I learned how to do what I did in Nam, because I thought it's going to draw me into that whole set of doing what my worst dream was, is to go back and help our people be free. So I've always felt that way. I've never really said it until now.
Any more questions from the audience? I want to say to whoever the idea was to name the sandwiches on the menu after these African filmmakers is a genius. Because every time you told a story about Larry Clark, Kathleen Collins, I'm like, yo, that sounds so good, right? But thank you guys for coming to the Sankofa Video Books and Cafe.
No, wait, my brother. She asked questions.
Who is?
You do. I know.
You have a question?
She's chewing Larry Clark, so.
Right. I'm about to go get me a Billy Woodbury.
Yeah, here she is.
You have a question?
Take your time.
Peace and love. Oh, this is loud. I wanted to ask, how are you able to discern? Because I remember you mentioned working with, you have something new that you're working with that not attracts but enhances your spirit or spirits. So how are you able to discern when that energy is for you and when it's not?
One of the things that I live on is the concept of synchronicity. I think anybody who really knows me at the studio, they say I'm a master of synchronicity. I know when that moment is real, and I've been doing it for so long because I'm a real mature man now. So the older you get, the more you see the synchronicity. And it's really about flowing. I can almost tell instantly by the way a person speaks and what they're about, whether it would work or not. And so that's how I've been able to do it, to tell you the truth.
So what advice would you give to a college student who is approaching that journey?
I would say, get quiet as much as you can. I think that's the blessing that I had in New Mexico, is you can be around quiet because there's no cars, there's no noise, you just have you and nature. So go to places where you can go and just see that inner cosmos within yourself and count on what you're really hearing and have faith in it. Because the thing that I describe, to me, creativity is like being pregnant. and pregnant with an idea, and you don't know what the term is. You don't know if it's a 6 month or a year, but it does, that live idea has a definite arc to when it comes to full birth.
Thank you, that really helped. I want to give them back.
And imagine how horrible it would be if you didn't know having a baby was supposed to be just 9 months, if you know.
And it's also like painful, like the idea is, it's a beautiful thing, but it's also painful and it's life-threatening, and it's something that you have to be strong for and be on a strong foundation with. So I definitely agree that you have to be ready for everything that comes after that. Because like literally you're birthing an idea, you're birthing a new version of yourself.
Right.
And you're killing off an old version of yourself to create something new, and that looks scary. That looks scary, it's unpredictable, you don't know. And I agree that being still allows you to hear you, allows you to connect with that version of you that you are birthing. But you have to be quiet enough to hear it and to get out the noise.
Yeah, because even at UCLA, part of what I didn't really tell Highlandham is I lived in Santa Monica, so at that time I could drive 15 minutes to go to the mountains. And I would go to the high mountains and have the clouds that left the Pacific and go across me, past me. And then I could put UCLA and all of that was on the other side of the mountain in perspective. It's just this little small space. And I get out of my car and then go and deal with the horrors of UCLA.
And okay, and this is my last thing. I agree, and I can relate because I went skydiving recently. Yeah, and it was peaceful for like 10 minutes. I was just floating in the air, and everything was small. Everything above me was so small. The cars were small, the people were small, and that's when I realized like literally stillness and quietness, and that's what really allows you to emerge with that version of yourself. And I don't know, just stepping outside of stepping outside of what you know to be true, I guess, if that makes sense. But okay, yeah. Thank you.
Or at least the way that things are supposed to be true. Yeah, I think that was really phenomenal for me. So that was the reason I started my film out with the clouds, actually. But
skydiving?
No, not skydiving.
Oh.
I'll tell you the thing, if you go to the top of Santa Monica Mountains, you're on the same level as an airplane.
Yeah.
So you can look it square in the eye as it's
Yeah.
flying to land at the airport. So that was what it gives you an emancipating feeling, and it's very cleansing. But no, I haven't skydived. My thing, because as a military guy, I didn't want to jump out of a good plane.
It's fun.
Into some bullets, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the way. I didn't want to be a paratrooper in that way. So,
Right.
so yeah, but yes.
All right, thank you so much. That was great.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? We have a question over here.
I really resonated with the time you mentioned workers and teaching them that they can be creators. And as someone who I feel like is always seen as a worker, and I'm a creative, it's really hard to sort of shout it out to the world and have people see it. When did that happen for you along the way? Did someone show that to you, or did you, how did that happen for you?
My grandfather. My grandfather believed he couldn't read or write, but he bought all kinds of property. He was my hometown projectionist for our neighborhood. He did movies for both the Latinos and the white folks in the town. And then later and then within that, he had a baseball team that was multicultural. He had Indians, Mexicans, and Black baseball team, and a woman's rattlesnake team that was really tight. And he could just, I remember as a kid watching him build our house off of scratching it on the ground. him and Mr. Bill talking about how this is supposed to be and where this is going to be. So it's that kind of dreaming that I was around. And then when I talk about an arc, I would help him in the movie theater change the reels, because the squares, circles, that would come up and I was so I was his little alarm clock, so I had to really watch the movie, because you couldn't tell when the cut was going to happen, so it was my job to help him do that if he stepped away to use the bathroom or stuff like that. So all of that really helped me see that I was a creator as opposed to a worker, because he even though he worked for, and the other thing that he did was interesting. After researching this book, it blew my mind that he helped build an airport as opposed to making a field for cotton.
All right, we have another question here in the back.
Hi, my name is Ellie Warden, and I go to Howard University. I'm majoring in psychology. So as I was watching the short clips that was showcased, I really felt some kind of sense of culture, and I do appreciate that, because just being in the U.S. and just going to Howard, it seems to it is a good place to fit in, but I feel like you combine culture and spirituality in a really connecting and grounding way that, like I said, I saw in your short clips, which leads me to ask this question: what you felt like, what culture or groundedness you felt was missing that you had to showcase to the younger generation?
I wanted them to not see their future as being dystopic. All the future that these colonizers do is dystopic. And I wanted, as a matter of fact, I showed this to junior high kids and high school kids, and they kind of melt in front of the film because they've never seen something positive about their future world. And so how I describe it with my homies, I said it's kind of like a big shower that's on them, and I'm watching the shit go off. While I'm watching them, they just like light up, and I can see their real skin, I can see the real shine in their eyes, the real essence of the brightness of their color, and everything comes out with them because they just pop like that. So that's been the blessing to me. I like dropping it on them, and so they can see your world isn't going to be horrible in the future. You can control it.
Any more questions from the audience?
Where are you?
We have a question right here.
My brother Jaime.
Since I'm going to close it also, but I have a question. Carr, you know Ben?
Only Ben's daughter.
Professor Carr.
How you doing, brother?
Good to see you, Bob.
So you thought his daughter?
No, out in the Burke Park this summer. You were out of town, but came by, yes.
Yeah, I remember everybody told me about the wonderfulness of you and your work, and my daughter really liked meeting you at that time too.
Pleasure to be there, Bob.
Well, thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ben, what I want to ask you is, in my view, outside the spiritual aspect of your discourse, the pragmatic idea of, the way idea without capital, without finance does not exist. Otherwise, so many Black people, not only you or me or Larry Clark or Chaz Bennett, so many Black people have stories. I remember going to Paul Robeson's family archive, and I saw over 1,000 scripts sent to him from the South, thinking he is powerful to make a movie. And the script was never produced because he doesn't have the capital, he doesn't own banks. So for me, how do Black people who are full of ideas, to a point that I know you experienced when we show our film, how many Black people keep giving you a script idea? When we're in Crenshaw, everybody gets up to give you a script. There's not any Black person I've met in Chicago or anywhere who doesn't have an idea, a script, brilliant ideas in most cases. But how do you implement? This is not for me, at least if you guys got it, my question should be mute. I don't want to ask it. But I feel that is the missing part of your lecture or discourse. How do you finance idea? Idea without finance in the world we exist now cannot happen. You know it, you yourself, I think, experienced that. So how do you respond to that?
To me, capital is colonizing. That's the way I see it. Because when you thirst for capitalizing, you're capitalizing like colonizers. I think there are other ways to make funds. And we're using the method that Hollywood is using, and they're not very successful, even though they have billions of dollars. Look at how crappy that work is. You know what I'm saying, Highland?
No.
So
Tell me how.
on the other end, there's different ways to deal with your stories other than trying to write a script in the structure. Because that was the one thing I learned from Adams and especially Brome, not Brome, one of our,
So
50 years ago, I can't remember saying that. But one of the things that in writing my script, I do my scripts as a story that could live on a lot of different levels. So it doesn't always have to be a movie. It can be a book like this. It can be a mixture of ideas. We have to go off the track just like our jazz musicians did. If they had counted on just money, all of that work wouldn't have ever been done. Blues would have never been done. So the template that I use is operating with what we have and create within that. Just create within what you have. Don't dream beyond what you don't have.
Well, to me, that actually kills the very idea of imagination.
No, imagination is done within the concept of creating.
Let me tell you, for example, you got grants.
Yeah, but the grants, I got one grant, and the grant almost kills you because they have enough money to try to go at you.
You know, Ben, why I'm asking you this question is let me tell you, young people, like for example, this brother is going to do a lot. He's going to do a lot, and I know many around the area who comes here who are going to do a lot. In fact, I know that sister over there who was talking to you about jumping.
Right.
What's your name, sister?
You spelled it Z.
Say it again.
Zamaya.
Zamaya. For example, she has her own business at this stage of her life. Okay. And for me, it's the most powerful idea. But I also know, Ben, let me tell you, here, in a gentrified Washington, D.C., okay, let's be pragmatic, because young people.
The first thing is, to me, gentrification is an old word. It doesn't have anything to do with our time period now.
Really? Oh, you don't live in this planet?
No, I think what's going on now.
Whose car?
There's a white car that's parked in the parking lot next door to here. If it's anyone's car, they should remove it because they will lock the parking lot and your car will be locked in there.
That's who you mean at the Howard parking lot?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they close it. They close it at certain times.
Yeah, they're locking it right now.
Well, before I leave, I'm gonna come back, but my daughter and my wife, they were out in Leimert Park, and she's at Temple, but she's in LA now, working with a lot of USC students. And they wanted me to meet you. They said we did a similar thing that you're doing. We did it in DC. We had our thing called Studio W. We had Multimedia Training Institute. We did it very similar to what you did. And I was in LA not too long ago, but you were gone and they had a big parade there, but I just missed you. and they just walked me out, and the door was closed. I looked in the window, and it was this really eclectic, scientific, artistic space. And so to get a chance to meet you was good, but I may come back and tail up on Harley's question.
You can come back,
Okay.
please, because
Yeah,
just
come back and talk
move
to
your
you.
car.
This economic discussion is a real important one. I really think that we're tied to the concept of still emulating the men on how to get our money. Because one of the things is when you use the example of even the guys that are getting the money, if you look at how they started in a garage, you know? That was because we don't want to go to the point of putting our hands in the dirt and creating from a foundation. We want middle passage to do things. We want to go middle management first.
My brother, please, Ben, you're my brother, don't be defensive, but let me
I'm
tell you
not being
something.
defensive, I'm
Let me
just
tell
telling
you
the
something.
truth.
Let me tell you something. No, it's not true.
It's my truth.
No, it's not. According to you, Charles Burnett, and me, and the ideas we talked, we didn't have the capital to do it.
I agree.
Period. The point is, let me tell you, especially we Africans, if you talk about Africa, the richest continent in the world, if it becomes accountable to culture, if those resources could be accountable to culture, the cultural ideas we have will be in space age. The other thing is, I want to make films. I want to make film about the emperors, kings, queens, and the poor peasants, black people in Africa and here. I should be able to have capital to do those movies. People should experience my visual imagination.
I agree.
So to me, for young people, they should know one way of you seem to operate out of the world by yourself. Fine. But
Not
I
by
think
myself. I
wait a
couldn't do
minute,
this by myself.
Ben, these young people need to know how do they amass.
Okay,
Just think right. So
I'll
think
tell
right,
you real quick on how that really happens. Like the Koreans come in and you know who they get to have, how we get gentrification? Let me just explain real quick because this is something real, Tyler. It's the EB-5s that have happened in our country. You're right. What we have managed to do, we need money from Ethiopia. We need money from Nigeria. We need money, because those are billionaires that are wasting money. If it was Italy, the Italians would spend their money with us here. I mean, if I was an Italian, because the way you really get money is to get a bank behind you. And the banks are, like a Trinidadian can come in here and do better than us because they have the cultural resources from Trinidad that's banking their projects because it's going through their banks to the American banks. It's not going, but I'm saying, what we're doing.
Excuse me, a Trinidadian coming to America, black people are still the subsidizers of that idea. If there were no black people, that Trinidadian would not have a penny to build business. One, two, forget Ethiopia, Angola, the richest country, where African people from Cuba fought, and all that gold mine, etc., is going back to Portugal, to white people, because their brain mindset is in the framework of Oprah and Tyler Perry and all these rich black people in here, who are even richer than those African people.
But there's
still
their money's in their white people's bank.
Ben, let me tell you, for somebody who doesn't want to do it like you, but it comes by osmosis for you, for the young people, I think we have to tell them that pragmatically they have to construct. For example, Sankofa is false. Sankofa is about to go out every month. Why? Because the very bank that we deposit our money does not give us loan the way they would give a white risk taker access to capital. So for me, the battle is, how do you get the black people that we know are our community people? How do we create a Garvey's idea, which you were talking about? How do we get finance, structured finance, from an African-centered people whose brain trust is in the right place to understand without culture we will not go anywhere. Culture is the missing diet of our people, okay? And the thing is, Ben, his idea, and I don't agree with him, but he has another reality. He never had the finance he deserved to have to build the ideas he has been telling before since I've met him. because of the absence of capital. For me, for young people here, you have to know, either way, whether you go the traditional way or not, you have to be able to create capital accumulation within your own community without having an exploitative relationship with that community, which I think Shirikiana and me are doing here, trying to do here. But every month, with the city council of Black people in power, Black mayors, for Black businesses, they have been flying out of this area. That's real gentrification. How it used to be when I first came 50-something years ago, all these areas were the restaurants of Black people. Black people owned them, they fed Black kids, they made money decently, and the Korean migration, the grease food coming in, I saw it bit by bit. A Korean leaving Korea in advance, the Korean community in Washington, D.C. takes a liquor store or a 7-Eleven kind of place, a grocery place, they go like this. So-and-so is coming from Korea. In advance, he's given this business orientation, how to deal with Black people, how to exploit that community. He's informed right there and comes to buy the community. The Korean community in America organizes an airport for that guy to come in town, to build his institution. I'm saying alternative economic organization is not something new, but that's also what is not a lot of young energy is not going. For example, you have a lot of business idea. I admire him because I don't have those ideas. I'm a filmmaker, but I had to go to business because nobody else is doing it. Nobody else is doing it. And it's very pragmatic. Every month we're about to lose this building. How do we make even the whole thing survive? We're trying to organize the workers and us own it together. It's a new stage we want to go to. So we're doing all this thing. But I'm saying, Ben, to me, I think you did not make it from air, but there should be the community you stressed is real, that supports him all the time. I've seen it myself when I go there. But still to go beyond Haile and Ben, okay, beyond us, because our shit is wretched. I'm sorry. It's wretched for me.
I'm not that way. I don't agree with you.
No, I don't
agree with you. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you.
Listen, 20 years, 30 years it takes me to make a film. That's wretched. Black folks don't know it takes me that long to find money. So I'm saying the real thing is not what we're hearing, in my view. I'm like, that's my disappointment now. For me, I think there are finances Ben operates from, including grants. He had received that, I know. You have to apply for grants too yourself and not be ashamed of it because it's the taxpayers' money of your people. One, young people have to know they cannot implement their ideas without capital, period. Capital does not mean capitalism. That is misinformation. It doesn't mean capitalism. Capital means resources to platform your idea. Your soap business, my sister, your what do you call her business? Flourish. Huh? Flourish. Your business. I know if a capital is ingested into it, it will transform more, distribution-wise, production-wise, isn't it? Yeah. Production-wise, distribution-wise. Me, I have a building. I can barely, I don't know how he operates, but I don't know, I can barely have a worker here. My offices are empty because we cannot afford to employ a distribution director. And we started distribution in 1970. Sharik and me started in 1970. We started distribution. We distributed Charles Burnett, all this menu you see, Kathy Collins, Usman Sanben, Menondo, we distributed. I speak from practical distribution. Why did we close it? Capital. We didn't have enough capital. The filmmakers, including my friends I went to school with, they want their money every month. 60% we were giving them because Sharik and me said, no, the filmmakers like us should be paid more. We should not exploit them, although it's 40%, 60 the other way. Now, they want their money all the time. We have to finance the worker, the distributor, the booker, etc. of their films. And then we said to them, we want it to be communal and collective together. Charles Burnett, Kathy Collins, conference, let's be collective. We couldn't be collective. We couldn't. That's a question mark on us. We could not be collective. We could not be communal. So what do? Sharik and me retreated because of capital. And we started distributing only our own films and made Sankofa with capital, begged and loaned from Nigerians, from African Americans, a lot of crazy places we have to get to do the film. And I'm glad we made the film. And I'm glad we paid all our loans off. But to me, I would have made 20,000 Sankofa. Well, exaggeration, 10 more Sankofa. Had I a black person who believed like me on production of nurturing culture, nurturing cinema. Yeah. If I had partnership, even now, if I had partners, this film that I'm doing on the Maroons of the United States, which is a historical film, a very important film, because without that kind of film, we will never realize what our people resisted, fought for, etc. So now, for that, you need money. $500,000 I need now. Where do I get it? Oh, it's a traditional way to think? No, I need $500,000 to finish the film because every instrument is bought and sold. There's no free digital anything. The shit I just bought now for editing, getting transformed it took about 20,000 from me. So I'm saying film, for me, film is serious. It's very important we document our people. We document them, their spirit will exist forever. It's very important they are shot right by good camera, by good exposure, by skilled cinematographers like Bradford Young and Alan. Otherwise, I'm saying, this is my frustration. You young people, Ben is my friend. There's a whole lot of anarchy he's preaching. He has money. He has money, he has grants. He said it himself. You need to get that kind of capital to get yourself going, to get what you promised me to do, as far as I'm concerned. Ben has a business, is a brother I admired. He has his own institution going. Not many of our friends did have the common sense he has. But it's not without money that place is built. The building, the very building he has is from money. And I'm saying that information is very important. 43 years I taught at Howard University. Illusion. Black people are taught illusion after illusion. Oh, there's there. Just feel good and you will be in spaceship. Fuck that shit. No. You have to know how to harness the economic power of your community. You have to know that. You have to make the sister says, if you want me to make movie like Sankofa, help him make it now. Fundraise. Bring the resources. Don't tell me you don't need money. You could just do a film like Ben in a very inexpensive way, which is not. I don't know how. To me, everything he showed us is cost money, as far as I'm concerned. And the advice I wanted to say is because I care. Sharik and me started this place to counter Howard University. I thought there I couldn't do what I wanted to do. Illusion again. Black nationalist illusion. And I said, her and me said, let's go across from Howard, start our own cultural center where kids come to do their homework, read books, but also read films, and eat filmmakers named Russ Sandwich to politically intercept and hijack the kids when they come here. That is my objective. That's why I'm here. That's why we call it liberated territory. And as far as I'm concerned, let me tell you something. You better work on accumulating. Now, when the world goes socialism and communism, you can take my building. I will absorb my capitalism. I'll just say, okay, take it now, people, masses. But now I needed to make my movie. Otherwise, my grandfather's story will never be told. It was burned in the ashes of my imagination. Sorry, Ben, I took it to this level, and it's because it's.
No, it's always fun to be with my brother here. This is the kind of discussion we used to always have, so.
Well, I got one question though.
Uh-huh.
When Professor Riley asked you about the duplication. You said the word is already changed. We don't use it anymore. What is the new word?
The new word is to me reset.
Reset?
Reset.
Reset.
Reset. Like you do a computer, reset it.
What? Resettlement or result?
No, reset.
Just reset it.
Reset.
Push the button, you reset it.
Like start over.
I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And a lot of
Is there
what,
any difference between them though?
what, sir?
Is there any difference between, if I open up my dictionary, resettle and reset?
Yeah, you-
Reset is another way of gentrification.
No, it's another way to describe what we need to do.
Also, that's a hidden.
Yeah. No, it's not hidden. It's pretty, like, let me,
I can reset my
told-
TV, I can reset my TV, I can reset my lights, I can reset. Reset is just, I think.
No, but the point is you're using it literally. Ben, throughout the evening, he has concepts he come up with. He meditates over ideas. And he's saying, to keep saying gentrification is to play in the hands of gentrifiers. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's saying we will have to invent new worlds so we don't think dependent always by the very dominant society, which is a very important idea that. You know,
That's something me and my daughter is working on. She's a speech pathologist that studied here. And we need to come up with new words to describe this world that we're resetting.
Yes.
You know, new words, because they're colonized words,
Yes.
you know? And so a lot of what Haile is saying is, I totally agree with. The only part that I'm fighting for in our neighborhood is for the same things. The reason I mentioned Koreans, is because when Brockman Gallery that I was working with, because we didn't get a grant, we had to pull the rug from under all of the work that we had done for almost 15, 20 years. And so I came in with that type of knowledge about it because we were moving into the area where the Koreans ended up taking over, which was on the other side of the 10 freeway in Leimert Park, in that area. So the thing that I noticed, and I studied, I'm a little bit, part of my second degree was business. I took international business and ethno-communication through the ethno-communications lens, and I also took law. So my second degree is in law and business, because I found that I needed to understand these things. So while I was taking the business classes, I was noticing one thing. Some of the people that they were bringing in were the Gap as it was starting. A lot of these early Silicon Valley guys, they brought them in as examples of the New World business that they were doing it in the 70s. And so I had these guys to talk to, but both Hollywood and these new businesses, their businesses, what they call small businesses, was $22 million. They didn't have microfinancing at the time. I'm operating my place with microfinancing. That's how I was doing it. Basically, with microfinancing concepts, you can build out of that. But the real way that all of the other cultures have been able to beat us is they go back to their mother culture, including the Europeans. You know, it isn't the money that they're using here, they got from the old world, and they bring it here. Now, Nigeria, I talk to my Nigerian friends, they say that there's no money in our neighborhood, and they bring big old cargoes with equipment into our neighborhood, but I say, bring your banks. You know, because we need those banks, we're close to Hollywood, you guys like Nollywood, we have Hollywood, so I'm talking to them now on setting up their businesses, helping us build businesses, because we can then outstrip the idea of where our money comes from. For instance, we lost the Baldwin Hill Shopping Center. And the reason we lost it is because it would belong to Black folks, but we fought with each other. And while we were fighting with each other, the property, then the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, the people who invested in it wanted their money. And when that happened, they were saying, well, we could get Oprah. Oprah didn't even have enough money to help us. because their money is in white people's banks, white American banks. So the thing that I'm noticing, that they're able to do an end around this always, because each of these other cultures get the banks from their mama culture. And what happens with that is their banks have the capital juices, the oil, gold, and diamonds, or whatever. That's what's backing those banks there in the country. Within our country, if we go from like Oprah, Beyonce, all of their money is in white banks. White American banks, you know what I'm saying? So it makes it almost impossible to do anything because we can't beat a Trump.
And what's the history of black banks, including the industrial bank?
Well, they were all invested in American.
So you know, the African American banks
Are
in DC.
Yeah, they're all invested in white banks too, even though their banks their money is still collateralized by other white banks.
And it's
You know what I'm
very
saying?
hard to
So it's a
flip
checkmate.
from them, yeah.
So all the other cultures come here with not that checkmate.
Oh, no, this is where I disagree with you because.
Did you hear what I really
Excuse
said?
me 1 second.
Did you hear what I really
No,
said?
I do. Let me tell you, my brother, what we know here, documented by the very ethnic groups, the different ethnic groups that come, documented. For example, the Ethiopian community, restaurant owners, gas station owners now, typical, the Korean highway, the business.
So they use ED5s?
They use the accesses here. See, Ben, what I noticed, what I learned is this. For example, an African American approaching a bank, a capital source, triggers another historical invisible drama. This is what I have learned. For example, an Ethiopian coming in is a foreigner. The built-in bias of white supremacy is not intimidated by this Ethiopian. Let me tell you, I'm married to an African American sister. Okay, if I was all Ethiopian family and went to a loan, it's a different story. We found it, we studied it, trying to find loans for the different films for this place. And I'm saying, if you are immigrant, and the success of immigrants in America is because they are under the radar system of white supremacist gatekeepers. Black people in America face another extra tension, risk tension. They call it risky. She is risky if she comes for a loan. And I'm saying these are real things. Immigrants do not face this issue.
Because they're not going through our banks.
No, they're going through your banks.
They're going through their
America.
banks. They're going through their banks.
No. They're going to Bank America. I'll take you now. We line up there. I line up with all my foreign immigrant friends.
But that's the problem.
No, I'm telling you, what are you saying?
Well, I'm saying that what happens, if you look at the Koreans, they have Korean banks in their neighborhood. And that Korean bank isn't collateralized by America.
I don't know the specific story.
No, I'm just telling you, that's the truth.
All I know is the Korean community, according to their own community, those who made films on their community, a Korean, while is in Korea, groomed for a certain place. She's a Korean, let's say she owns this store. In Korea, they prepare me to take over her store because now she's vertically moving. That community
And
that
it's
is
because
in
the
that-
bank that they put together makes that happen. I've studied it, my brother.
Oh, well,
I've studied. I tried to figure out how this happens right under my nose too.
I
You know
would
what I'm saying?
leave it there, but to me, I don't know foreigners who bring their banks into this country.
We have a Korean representative here with us tonight.
Yeah, tell them about EB5s, right?
I can't speak to all Koreans. I can only speak to my personal experience. My parents are immigrants. We own dry cleaners. They came here with money hidden in his shoe. His father was passed away. There was no Korean bank that was supporting him. But what you talk about, the culture, is what came to him. So when he came, he actually came to Washington, D.C. and didn't know a single person. But he found that there was a Korean newspaper. He showed up at the Union Station bus station from Kentucky, actually. Wow. And he just saw a Korean newspaper, and he looked and he saw that there was a job opening for a grocery store. So he went there, and with his bags and everything, and asked the grocery store if he could have a job. and the woman was like, gave him a job, and he was very lucky, and he got a room in her house that he begged for. But I would say the only way that he was able to start his own business was because culturally, and this is actually going away right now, it doesn't exist in my generation. But there was something that was called a git, and that's when you have a community of Koreans. This all came from the church too. When he came over here, he was not religious, but churches for us were the same community places where you go and meet people of the same culture. So culturally, once those kids were formed, they were basically based off of who lives in neighborhoods. They would meet every once a month, and they would pull every family part of that kid would pull in like $100, and each month everyone would donate $100, and that pot of money would go to one family around to help with their business that they were starting. That's the way he got his business started. And that's most of the time, that's the way that it happened for the first generation of immigrants.
Okay, now the African American community, if you read The Great Migration in the South, had the same. It's not a phenomenon to one group. Ethiopians do the same thing you're saying in Washington, D.C. But African Americans also did have that kind of self-preservatory, like even party giving to collect money to a person to enable them to buy a house. African Americans have done it too. So I'm saying, I don't know foreigners who bring a bank with them. I don't know. I only know they bring relationship with them, family with them, and the cultural point you're making. So as far as I'm concerned, Nigeria could never, they have gas station here, for example, the Nigerian capitalism. But their framework, to me, I would prefer to go and be rejected and maybe score one day from Bank America than a Nigerian bank, personally, because I don't know what he knows. What I know, I don't want to take loan from a Nigerian bank at this point, because the framework is not the same. It's not what we expect, communal idea, build culture, etc. So for me, I'm saying African Americans have always had a survival organization from Alabama, Mississippi, especially after slavery, although it could be traced during slavery. The kinship family relationship, the way they even raise somebody's kid which doesn't exist in many places, but the African American community. So I'm saying it's not original for African Americans here. The idea of Garvey himself, most of it is really this idea. The problem here is the integration has completely destabilized this independent mindset of African Americans. So to me, resistance, the biggest teachers of resistance are African Americans. Cubans can testify. The negritude movement learned from Black people. There's no shoot in America Black people did not invent, but they are in the belly of the beast. They are where white supremacy is. It paralyzes them to even be able to get their ideas financed. I'm saying that is specifically a real thing. My Howard kids, okay, we teach, they take course, etc., and then they end up, majority of them don't even practice in their field. Because there's not that community that used to exist at a certain time that evolved even out of the migration. Even the migration period, it's amazing how Black people brought it into the North. But it all depleted. I think the discussion is, why not? Why? And for me, Oscar Micheaux, independent film, the LA Rebellion, bullshit does not replace. The best filmmakers were in the Black American filmmakers who understood distribution, production, and were in the 1930s, from William Foster all the way to Oscar Micheaux, they knew business. They even let integrated audiences come see their movie. They began forwalling, not white filmmakers who claim yesterday they came out, we invented, forwalling was invented by Black people who were not allowed to own their own theater. And so for me, there is now a problem of losing that kind of independent spirit to finance ideas.
I don't mean to cut you off, Holly, but it's like this, man. We went to save Sankofa, my wife and I, to City Hall, the City Council, writing letters, saying why they should exist, why they shouldn't have all the taxes, why they shouldn't be shut down, why they should be supported rather than attacked. But whereas you in LA, you're almost a line item in the city council in LA. They come and they give you money.
Not always.
Well, not all the
That's
time. Well, you have to work for everything. But I'm saying it's a little different.
What do we have
He's
as
not being
constituency?
attacked the way
Like,
you're being
what,
attacked.
what do we have as constituency?
It's like the Korean sister. Let Ben, my brother, let Ben tell us about, my brother, let Ben tell us about the city council in LA. I mean, I'm not sure, even in my view, Ben has to tell us, his idea is even endangered, in my view. I could be wrong, he's endangered because the whole founding, like for example, SO1, the bookstore, when it closed, it ricocheted all the way to independent black publishers, book publishers. They were their best outlet. We were scared. We start seeing us going next, etc. So there is even, the problem is the elite in the city council, the mayor, for example, the two mayor and governor or Baltimore. They're young people, black kids, two black kids. They can really make the idea of Bradford Young and all the black filmmakers that moved into Baltimore, they can make it a reality, but they're not coming through because the frame of mind, the mindset is different. But that is necessary, as far as I'm concerned. The alternative is what, is my question, even to Ben. So what do we do? Let's say he doesn't believe in capital, he doesn't believe in them. I do believe in capital. Get me capital to finish my film. So how do we do that? How do we overcome? Given the situation of black people in America now, how do we overcome the absence of capital? This is a puzzle to me throughout his lecture.
Well, right now what we're doing, I'm on all of those kinds of boards. So I'm on the Business Improvement District, so I'm a vice president there. With the council people in our area, what happened is Mark Wrigley Thomas they're wanting to indict him. So it made, you know what I'm saying? So the thing that I discovered is really, it kind of reminds me of college, because you have a 4-year term and he spends 1 year on establishing self from what he just got, and then 2 years to possibly do what he promised, and then the last year to try to get a job.
To keep a job or
take care of his family or her family. So they're stuck in a crunch that's interesting. So what we're doing, and we started in 2015, we put together a 2020 vision on how to envision our footprint. And what I forced myself to do is to come to all the community meetings and be actively involved with the community so they would know me, so they could, because when I played like they weren't there, they sent 250 cops on me. Oh, and it was my community, it wasn't the white folks calling the cops, it was the community calling the cops on me. And the students that I had there was the preeminent one was Ava DuVernay. On the day that we got attacked, she was one of the she was probably in the house when you were talking about all those crazy kids that were there. You know what I'm saying? So she was one of those crazy kids that was there. And out of that grew Jurassic 5, grew a lot of strong people. So the thing that I could best say is now we're sitting up at 2030 and beyond. I had told them, let's sit up at 2050. They said, you're dreaming too much, Ben. That's too far. So they said, let's call it 2030 and beyond. So we're in the mix of doing that right now. And so my job right now is to do an asset map of our whole footprint. So who are the bankers? Who are the council people? A power map. On the power map is all of the councilmatic districts and the state districts and the federal districts as they overlay our community. And I'm doing that for fun for myself, so I can really understand the whole way it works, how it all works. And the asset map is like each of these new buildings that are being built, who's the developer? I went to one of the developers and I found out how you can make them dance your dance if you have your constituency behind you. So it's 100% about constituency, because the politicians want constituency, and if we we as artists can get constituency real easy.
I'm gonna come back to that.
Because that's the
but
reason I showed my movie.
Okay, that's just the.
Yeah, we have a perspective from a young person.
I know he mentioned that he was having to close up soon. I wanted to offer another perspective because I remember as soon as when you first got on highlight, when you first got up, and you were saying that the difference between you two is that he's more, well, not more, but he looks at things from a spiritual aspect, and I'm noticing that you guys kind of mirror each other in that way.
Yeah. That's always from the time I met him. He goes, he goes to the sky, I don't.
But that's the difference.
I have enough problem here in the ground.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the difference. That's what I picked up and noticed that when you have this faith and this spiritual connection with God and the Creator, you know things gonna work out. You know things are gonna happen. But it's because because you truly believe in yourself and your craft and your work. And not saying that these beliefs are just gonna bring finance into your hands. It's like, oh, I think this way, and then like boom. But I think that when you develop a spiritual connection with self, with the Creator, and you're able to see everything happening for you, not so much to you, you're able to kind of alchemize that energy into what you truly desire, whether that be finances, networking, people who can grow you, people who can put you in position. So I think that may be like, we can be so on physical, but we gotta have the balance, the balance between the physical and the spiritual, because they coexist between each other. So when you too much on one side, on the physical, it can kind of, I don't know, and maybe it's like just a perspective that I have, because I'm also very spiritual, and I see things like, I don't know, like I can't explain it. I feel like,
clear,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's the difference.
I get you.
And it's interesting that you guys are coming together, and y'all like so opposite, but the same in a way.
No, we've always been that way. It's been fun because it's I was always the spiritual one amongst our group of filmmakers. It's just the way I am. But I'll give you an example. I left Howard here, right? When I left Howard, I had just gotten a divorce and I had no money. But I put in for the building that I have with no money. Absolutely zero. And I had bad credit, and I still put in for the property. And when I put in for it, I told the woman, the manager of the building, what was up. And I said, I want this building and I want to do it because I want to build out a kid program. And I'm from Howard. She said, okay, Mr. Caldwell, we're going to trust you for months and months to get into this property. And I paid it month to month, and I was in one sliver of the place. And by 10 years later, I bought the place.
So that's why I see, when you are able to take that leap and just go in blindly, because you trust the Creator, you trust God, you trust yourself.
No, he doesn't. He's the last guy with God. You are
God, the Creator, the universe,
the
spirit, they're all the same. They're all the same.
No, it's okay, but go ahead.
They're manifestations of the same thing. It just said in different names. They all the same. It's something that we can't see, but we believe in.
And the day that I was supposed to pay it, I got my tax check.
And it be like that.
The very day.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
The point is this, okay, sister, the point is this. Still, it's on capital formation.
It is.
It's not like God came with the buildings and then it's still, he worked for it, he paid for it.
Yeah.
And young people should know, yes, you can get your.
It doesn't fall in your hand.
But it's definitely a balance. You have to work hard. You can't just.
Sister, let me tell you, the independent thing is this. I think, young people should think independent, should not accept no as an answer, should pursue to get their idea in place. Sooner or later, they have to confront the issue of paying the dues. And how you do it is by, I think it makes sense. That is fantastic. He found a good person God placed her there or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know. She was
Okay.
really hard.
So she said, okay, Mr. Caldwell, I don't know any bank or place or even the African American
But
bank.
then the next step was interesting too. So when I bought it, it wasn't just that easy, right? What happened was the people that I had to buy the property, the people who were trying to get the property with me that I was competing against was Dee Dalsa's son, Torian Black, and Dee Dalsa's son, Torian Black, and Dion Warwick.
What?
And I said, how can I beat them? I got a friend who helped me do my first, who
Book, and then you come and get signed. You getting one? You are?
We got one
Yeah,
person.
and you can get it signed also.
You can also get the books on our website, sankofa.com.
No, order.
You go, if you want to order them in the store, come to me. I'll place down your order for you.
Yeah, but buy the two, you have one, sister from Korea has one, the other one goes to you, and it's gone.
I got mine, my baby.
Huh?
I got mine.
Yeah, so get it signed.
Don't worry.
You have something you want to say, sister? Huh? You.
I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful for this conversation. But we should be leveraging the tools that are available to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
and get a constituency to help highlight here too, so they can have money.
Let's just keep in mind the
I
time
want to
too.
give him some of his money. There's a brother who wants to say something. Go ahead.
Super quick.
Go ahead.
I just say piggyback on that. Both of you in your own ways, you are really preaching us, you're teaching us. The word of the night, though, I just want to just put it out there, it is community. And at least for me, the way I've gone, my journey in this industry, community does not necessarily need to be the person, who you see every day in terms of your neighbor, Black people. Communities, does someone see your vision? Do they support your vision?
Absolutely.
My journey, I've had lots of people who should have been community, and as highly as you pointed out tonight, that has not been people who should be thought could be or should be. They've been people who, for me, becoming an editor, I got a position from a guy at a PR firm, not a Black guy. That led my journey. Along the way, the thing that I want to stress is community. If you have your ideas, if you have that, sure. If it's our people, Nigerian bankers, whatnot, let's go for it. But if you could talk to that banker who is Korean, who is Jewish, who is Irish, and they believe in your vision, I'd say, why don't you walk down that path?
Yeah, and that's very, very true, because I didn't finish on how I was able to get the property. Was after I was able to step through the door, the woman who owned the building, her name was Robert. And I was her next door neighbor the whole time. And when I signed the paper, she says, I didn't want those MS to have this property because you were working with those kids and I like what you were doing. So she kicked them all out because I had the constituency and I was working with the community. So that's the reason I say what I did in '79 is I jumped off the cliff and said, the spirits better take care of me, because why am I here otherwise? And so they've been taking care of me. Every time I needed help, it's even down, like I said, down to the last minute, I got the check the day that I needed to pay it. And that's kind of happened to me all throughout the time. And I also told some of my first, when I was teaching here at Howard, I remember one of my students was Nigerian and the money was being cut off because that first group of kids had all of their college was supposed to be paid for. And I remember him coming to me and saying that he felt like jumping in front of the train because he was worried about his money coming. And I says, well, what would happen if the check was here today? He went home and the check was there.
Well, so I want to know where my check is from.
It has to wait until you feel the tension, it'll show up.
But, on seriousness, I want to make sure people get the idea. A community is a base. That's why we're here. That's why our film opened all over America by our own self. Black people put it on the map. But the problem now is the community underneath. Homelessness is big. Let's not talk about even film anymore. The whole community, young people are becoming homeless. If you see certain areas you go at 6 o'clock, they are evicting homeless folks coming out while we're going to lecture, we're going to this, we're going to that. So underneath the buttock holder, it's a serious, and so whatever we dream, if it's going to break down, what do we do? So as far as I'm concerned, reset, gentrification. I prefer gentrification because America was built on gentrification from the outset. Gentrify Native Americans. The whole Oklahoma was created with that, etc. It's not for me, reset is, again, what I don't understand, but I know how he comes up with many concepts. So I'm not putting it down, I'm just saying gentrification is real because it's affecting us. Washington, D.C., Black people are going, we don't know where they're going. Even young filmmakers need to really say, like he was talking earlier, what if it should be a movie about where are Black people going? All these white people with dogs coming here left and right. 5 6 years ago, I didn't see 10 white people. Yesterday, I counted. Was I telling you? I counted, like, I'm getting crazy. I said 5 white people. They were just crossing without any fear. Topography has changed. So I'm saying they should. I'm not trying to tell them, but the point is, where are black people going? I've been here now 50 years, since 1976 at Howard, So where are black people going? Because we see them going. And as they go, I'm not going to tell you, they're our clientele. So we have to think about what's happening. We can't insist on staying our business. Not if the composition changes, it's not our idea. It says even white folks were mad because we call African and African American in film and video. Initially, white folks were attacking us. Why? Why not? Why have that title in this area? That's now they have other causes with us, issue with us. But the point here is, I think it's very important that the young people we want to replace us, the young people like you met, Jordan, this guy, I don't know his sister, so I'll include you too. The young people, I want to know how is the baton? How do we pass the baton to have the idea? Ben is here because he built. He made his idea come alive. And that's why I think it's very important he's here and I'm here to support him. But where do we go with all the irrigation of the community, the gentrification, the cleansing of the community by new callous, middle class, interracial actually. It's even in the what makes gentrification interesting is black middle class people are co-signers of this. City council, mayors are black people. So they're really signing it to happen, and they want it to happen. Even now, in a way, economic distribution for the recovery for the COVID, the distribution is going to downtown white people who have to, they're getting grants you can never imagine to revive their business, And there's not that kind of, black power gift coming towards black people. So the young people, to me, whether you are at Howard, anywhere you are, you have to begin to think about what is going on with the population. We can't keep saying, Zankova. No, we've always been, we don't discriminate. But we all let everybody know this is a black cultural center to read and debate and discourse. No apologies. Okay, but we even scared Obama. Obama went to two white boys bookstore to visit as a small business visit. He gestured. He didn't come here because when he appeared, we said, "Who was Obama?" For 2 weeks, we have a panel discussion called "What is Obama to me?" Who's Obama and what's Obama to me? Because black people should not just go for black.
No question.
We should also go inside, what is this black? Otherwise, to me, I think a nice white person could be in the White House too. But they can never do, the history of that place is not going to be changed by one person, but we know that. So we felt we should interrogate it. And so it's very, very important to know, where are we going? Where are black people going? And I tell you, I'm at the age, I just want to finish my films. But I'm worried about who is going to replace our independent vision, the so-called LA rebellion. White people are our spokespeople now. Because this geriatric folks are finished.
Don't put me on that one, bro. You're geriatric. Okay, let me just say this, because that's a new old word for our new world. But really on a real side is you can see what happens through constituency. By us having a following, I would say when you guys came, you saw how much those youth came in. Basically, what we were able to do is have the youth 100% behind us because we really focused on the youth. And I can really swing big things because look at Juneteenth, we went from 100 to thousands and thousands of people that were mostly all kids. And it was dedicated to us, all of us guys, older guys that helped them get that way. So that's what makes the city tremble, is if I said that we wanted to do something, we can easily draw 10,000 people. So that's the kind of thing that I think that you have to do here, and I would gladly help you build those things out here by the methods that we use. I want to use the best practices. We did this to Chicago, and it worked very well with Jackie Stewart. I worked for 5 years with her. Every summer, we built out a program and built it where we dealt with all those aspects that you were
So what
talking
do we
about.
have to get your help?
Just let's set up a workshop and we can start sitting it up here, and we could do the what ifs workshops.
Would you finance the event,
We
the
could,
workshop?
we could see how we could help you get within the city.
No, I want to finance.
Yeah, I don't- the money
How
that
can
I
I
get,
fly you from LA?
I'll fly myself.
Okay, good.
I can pay myself.
Asking
Yeah, I
you.
can fly and come here.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Listen, you heard it.
But I also, I can easily get money from other places like the universities to help with this kind of thought process.
Let's do it.
Because what I've managed to do, like at UCLA, I mean, Cal Arts, I don't have UCLA helping me. I have USC, I have Art Center of Design, I have SciArt, and Art Center of Design brings in the car structural concepts that you guys saw the car there. And then USC, I'm a senior fellow there. So all of these things we could do that type of a study on setting these types
This
of
is
things.
the best closure. For me now, we have action. Whether spirit or not, we have action.
Well,
He's
it's
promised,
It
he's
lit
promised,
here.
he's promised to come back, and he's promised to even get some finance to get the workshop work. And then what do we need to do base-wise here? What should we organize?
Just let's have the workshop, bring in the people who are wanting to do it, and we can set up the what ifs.
Okay, Jordan? Okay, my brother? And you, Soap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Soap.
I have a good soap. She produced, you should get one before you go. The smell is amazing.
Hey.
She's a capitalist.
Hey.
She gave me free for publicity.
Oh, that's
Really, Ben, thank you very, very much.
Thanks so much. You guys got a sample there of our daily discussions after filmmaking. It's at UCLA. Haile and I always went at it like you see here because I was always the spiritual one and he was always like, Captain. But which I don't dislike it, but like I said, I get capital and I still make it work.
Yeah, a little explanation. Let me tell you, I come, for me, spirit, religion, finished. So I want you to not be confused. I don't believe in God anymore. I don't believe in spirit, but I come from the valley of religion, where it all began. But I've seen what happens when we mystify so much what is going on. You start to not pay attention. You think it's punishment that the Gaza people are now facing is God's punishment, God's wrath. For me, I'll tell you, I respect people's religion. I respect spiritual. I like you for your spiritual stature. I think black people have, one thing he said, which I lecture all the time, is how black people have to make revolution against noise, to come into peace with silence. All art, all music is made out of this combination. So for me, it's not meditation. There are many things we agree. My script writing kids read KAOS, another book. I'm gonna make them read his KAOS now. But the point is, KAOS is how I teach script writing. Order, disorder, etc. So for me, there's not much disagreement. But one of the things is, I don't sit and it's gonna come for me. Never happened. Never. I fought for everything. And here in this world that we are now, even to get black people believe in you, you have to fight black people. Because the first thing they don't have is not belief in you, because they're projecting their own displacement on you. This is what I know. Otherwise, I proved to black people what we can do with Sankofa. More than anybody. Anybody cannot talk about. We went 2 African countries, Ghana, Burkina Faso, co-production. Never done before in history. My wife and me. Okay? But I've learned black people are not there. If they were, they would come and say, Haile. And all I did was dream about rich black people. I told people, black folks, I said, one time I was asleep, I was in trouble, I needed I needed $15,000. David White is still here. The guy who scored the music is there from Sankofa. That brother there. I needed. You went to Canada with us? Yeah. $15,000 I needed. I didn't have it. Film is edited, finished. Unlike this, Sharik and me don't know where to go. $15,000. In America, it would take us $30,000 to $50,000 for 1 week to finish the film, mix the film in New York, plus the racism. So we booked a place in Canada because a brother loaned me money he saved carefully for his own, his own safety. He saw me so pathetic, and he says, and I remember one night I went to bed, I heard a footstep come towards my bedroom. You're gonna laugh now. And I felt the footstep was Bill Cosby. And it's coming, and he comes upstairs, and I'm trying to tell Sharik, my wife, Bill Cosby's in our house. And then he comes, he sits next to my bed, and he looks at me and says, I know you need money, don't you? So I do need money, yes, to finish my film. He said, yeah, I have a check for you. And he wrote unbelievable, and I can't quantify it, unbelievable amount on the check and gave me. And I woke up, he was not there. That's real. That's a real shit. I fantasized, blasted on him. He doesn't owe me nothing. He don't owe me nothing. I don't have to expect. But in my dream, the richest black man comes to me. It should have been the rich black people financing the salad bar of culture in America. Why even apply in white institutions, in white places? Why is it that black people don't finance their cultural diet? That's a serious question. So for me, it's very important to know one thing, that it's real revolution, it's real struggle, it's still resistance. Black people had to continue, unfortunately, resisting. And I think to me, tonight, having been here is an example of resistance for me. You stayed, you had a place. I have a lot of friends in LA. I have a brother who was at Starbucks, who whenever I go across from Sony Pictures, every time I go there, he went to school with us. All I see him is writing a script. And he's telling me who's going to play in the script, Denzel, or every year I see him, he's typing. I finished the whole film in the meantime, he's still typing. The last time I saw him, the laptop screen has crashed. He doesn't even know. He's telling me what he's writing because he left. He was off. And there are many black people in LA that have gone off. Howard students are in federal prison that I taught, that I went to prison to show a film, found my own students. So I'm saying these realities are no joke. We have to be very serious. And especially you young people. Today, I shouldn't have treated him and my best friend here this with noise and argument and things. I don't need to, but I'm paying attention to you young people who are saying we want to build, bring our ideas into fruition. Be pragmatic, be a guerrilla warfare warrior kind, move, retreat, advance, encircle, and get it and do the shit you want to do. Thank you very, very much. Ben? I saw him do that. His kids
I dropped
do this.
the mic, yes.
Yeah, his kids do that in his studio. They drop the mic.
No, they don't, because the mics cost too much. I slap them across the face with them. Yeah. No, I just want to say thank you all. I'm supposed to be talking about political stuff. They've asked me in Los Angeles to kind of deconstruct a village that they're about to build, and I'm going to be on a Zoom call with them in a few seconds. So thank you guys a whole lot. It's been a whole lot of fun, but really take me up on this. I really would like to do a Sankofa City workshop here with you guys. And I can hopefully see if we can get a team to come out and work with you, because I have a real good team of folks that work with, and also American U. I introduced you to him.
No, don't bring that up now.
Yeah.
Let's keep.
Yeah.
What's
So
your-
because he's one of the people that helps me. Yeah, let me try your bean stuff.
Okay.
My frijoles. So thanks a whole lot, you guys, and I will be able to sign your books real quick, and then I'm gonna have to go into the pocket there and do my Zoom call for about an hour.
Thank you, everybody.